as the public forum, I do have 5 cards on the Marinwood Plaza project. We do allow 3 minutes, but I'd appreciate it to the degree you would consolidate, coordinate, and not repeat. So I'll start with Renee Silveira. Excuse me, Renee Silveira.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I'm Renee Silveira, and I'm here today to express my family's concern regarding our ranch land across from the 101 Highway in Marinwood Plaza in Marin County. The source of a PCE groundwater contamination plume that has migrated onto our property. This matter involves Order R2 2014-007 and Amendment R2 2014-0036. Our attorney, Dave Trotter, is unable to join me today, but we previously submitted a letter to the board to Mr. Ralph Lambert on February the 18th. We appreciate that the board agreed with us, and on February 27th directed the plaza owners to further delineate the extent of the PCE migration within our property and to report the findings by June 8th. 5 of the groundwater samples collected during December 2014 contained 11 micrograms of PCE above the 5 microgram limit for drinking water, while PCE has not yet been detected in our well water. Finding it anywhere on our property is too close for comfort. While we are relieved that further investigation will be conducted on our property, we are troubled that the plaza owners are not being directed to do more sooner than later as far as their on-site cleanup responsibilities. 8 years have elapsed since the board was notified of the contamination caused by the dry cleaners doing business at the plaza from 1990 to 2005. 2 hotspots of contamination exist at the site, one at its eastern edge and one below the former dry cleaners building. According to Geologica, the plaza owner's consultant, in situ oxidizing treatment has been quite successful in addressing the eastern hotspot. The situation is very different for the hotspot beneath the dry cleaner building, which has been untreated since 2010. A 2014 memo from Geologica to the board states VOC concentrations in the soil beneath the dry cleaner building likely remain elevated. Geologica has explained in situ oxidizing treatment was done during the building in 2008, but was discontinued because of difficulties in managing the injected treatment product. This strikes us as a major cop-out, and certainly a lost opportunity given that this in situ treatment success that Geologica reports in regard to the eastern hotspot. Without any investigation invested and focused on the hotspot beneath the building, we can only assume this significant VOC mass continues to feed the plume that migrates off-site. It's unclear to us what due date the board has given the plaza owners to do substantive decontamination work on this hotspot. Obviously, it's a big ticket item for the cleanup. From our perspective, it seems the plaza owners have been and continue to stall in regard to their responsibility. Geologica has suggested that sampling of our water wells and or the down gradient reach of Miller Creek concurrently with ongoing on-site remedial efforts and monitoring will keep us informed about the off-site impacts. But that approach provides us no comfort as it won't protect our property from any ongoing migration of the contaminant plume. In review of the slow-going progress of cleanup at the plaza site, we contend this test the well water and hope for the best approach is not acceptable. We should be testing our well water to confirm the effective cleanup of the plaza site, rather than testing to keep tabs on the unchecked migration of contaminants from the hotspot that lives on beneath the dry cleaner building. We hope you will see the situation as we do, and will direct the plaza owner to implement substantive remediation actions and complete the site cleanup without further delay. Thank you.
morning, members of the board, staff. Bill McNicholas, I'm a Marinwood community member for the last 40 plus years. Former member of the Oversight Committee for Hamilton Air Force Base cleanup for 5 years. A couple of things to follow on Renee's talk is back on February 12th of last year, there's an edict put out by the district to have a plan in place by Marinwood LLC to have a plan in place by the 1st of January 2016. Based on the information that's coming out and the flow of the plume, I feel strongly that we should go in and open up the site under the cleaners and get a test on it and also put more biodegradants in there. I understand, heard about that ozone does work, which is not being used. There has been nothing done under that site for approximately 3 years, to the best of my knowledge. I feel this is an urgent thing to be cleaned up, and also what is going to be to the plume that's moving across through the ranch lands over on Silveira's property.
Thank you. Next we have Ray Day.
Hello, my name's Ray Day. I'm also from Marinwood. Also backing up Renee and Bill as far as this particular site cleanup at Marinwood Plaza. The thing is, this site cleanup has been delayed. The community wants this site cleaned up. We've got instances of people nearby in a condo complex that's right across the street from where the particular site, the cleaner site is, where they have cancer. They have at least six cases right now of people in the Casa Marinwood condo complex that have cancer. And although we can't associate it directly with the cleaning site, the cleaner site, it gives pause to the idea that here we have carcinogens in the soil nearby, and you have cases of individuals that are showing up with cancer nearby in that site. And this is a big concern for us. We're also very concerned about the Silveira property, and as far as the laborers over there that are potentially being exposed with this plume, in terms of the plume migrating towards the wells that are being used by the laborers and the cattle over there, the cows that are the dairy farm. And so this is something that the county has chosen not to deal with and hasn't done a thing about it in Marin. And we know that you are looking at this, and we want to let you know that we will continue to be here at the meetings to try and ensure that something gets done about it and is done rapidly, because if this continues and more people are exposed, what is going to be the outlook? And all we see from this is that potentially more and more people will be exposed, and we don't need any more cancer cases in our community. We thank you very much for your support in the past, and we look forward to it in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Stephen Nessel. I'm not sure I got that right.
Yeah, it's close enough.
No one ever gets my name right. I'm Stephen Nessel, and I'm a neighbor of the Silveiras in Marinwood. And thank you for the opportunity to be here. More people would be here if they had the opportunity. I'm lucky I have a flexible work schedule. I can be here. But this is an important issue. Cancer. Imagine if you had it. And imagine if your person right next to you had it, and the person right next to them had it, and all, well, I don't want to say it. There's 6 cancer cases within 100 yards, I believe, of this toxic waste site. That I may be wrong on this. I think it's 2,000 times the concentration allowable by law of PCE. So you've got cancer, and you find out that this toxic waste is 100 yards from you, and it's been discovered 10 years ago. And the lawyer's coming in before this board and saying, we need more time. We need more time. We've got to wait for our financing to come through. There's a deep moral obligation that you have serving on this board. You're the only ones protecting the public health and the environmental health. Do the right thing. Make sure this gets cleaned up as fast as possible. This is not acceptable, period. This Silveira's ranch, dairy herd, well, think about that too. Because if the dairy herd ingests toxic waste and they produce milk, this is not just 5 people, this is potentially many, many more. Now, it's not an issue now, but you know, the alarm bells are ringing, and they have been ringing for years. I implore you to do the right thing. Thank you.
And next we have Paul Brunel.
Hi, thank you. My name is Paul Brunel. I'm the last of the 5 of us who will speak, so I promise not to duplicate, but I do want to be here to support our neighbors, the Silveiras across the highway, the issue that they're facing, and also, again, the on-site remediation that continues to be seemingly let go. And I will emphasize that there's 5 of us here now, but I can tell you that through our next door community and a lot of other ways, our neighbors, the Marinwood Lucas Valley, anyone that knows about that plaza, they're becoming more and more aware of this. So it may have been 2 of us last November and 5 of us now, but if LLC is allowed to drag their feet anymore, there'll be more of us here. And that's not anything other than just to say that the community is aware. They're paying attention. They're paying attention to what we hear and what we see. They're paying attention to our neighbors, the Silveiras across the highway. And the perception, real or unreal, is that LLC is being allowed to drag their feet for the purposes of avoiding the cost so that they can pass the cost on to the buyer or potential buyer of the plaza that they're seeking. And I would ask, as we all ask, that you not let them drag their feet, because avoiding the cost of having to remediate it is not worth the safety concerns and the issues that have already been uncovered and the ones that are to come. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate the testimony, I have to say. To Ms. Silveira, you have managed to grasp an extremely complicated issue and articulated it in a manner that sounded a little bit like a regional board of staff person. Very impressive testimony. I did take a look at these and ask staff to be prepared. As you know, due process prohibits the board from taking an action without notice to anybody else. But we can I believe, I'm sure I would be corrected if I'm not, we can ask for status on the nature of the cleanup and perhaps a little information on how standard analysis looks at exposure pathways and cancer risk.
Correct. This is not an agendized item, so you will not be able to take any action, but certainly you can call on board staff to answer some of the questions you may have or respond to some of the questions you may.
Having done risk assessments, I'm aware a little bit of the technology, but it was a long time ago. Things get better, I think. So, Bruce?
Well, we certainly, since we weren't necessarily prepared to go into depth on this, we'll plan to report to you through the executive officer's report in more detail, but Stephen Hill can give you a brief
site is under a cleanup order, and the way it's structured, the dischargers are required to monitor the effectiveness of the interim actions that have been taken at the site, and they are required to do follow-up if problems are found, and then the final cleanup plan is due by, I believe it's the end of this year. It's meant to be linked to the redevelopment, but it's not currently due. The monitoring so far has not shown existing exposure. The residents are located upgraded in this plume. And the off-site investigation, which was finally completed earlier this year, shows that there are low levels of contamination across the freeway from this site. The investigation did not fully define the plume, so we have conditionally approved that report, and will need to be a further round of investigation. As Bruce said, we normally do know if the folks are going to show up for the public forum. This case we don't. So that's sort of an overview. I think we provide details when we provide the field report.
So, I understand the emotional impact of cancer as a threat. Both my parents died of cancer. My older daughter, although she's well. It's an extremely complicated issue about how exposure increases risk for cancer. We're certainly not prepared to provide information about that, but I would ask Bruce for, in his executive director's report, to make sure that you comment upon the question of should the cleanup of the second hotspot be advanced to reduce the gradient and movement, and a little bit about how cancer risk is approached in setting units. So if we can have that in the executive director's report, we can make sure that it's available to the interested parties in time for the next meeting. They can make a decision whether or not they want to attend. Is that a factor?
I just wanted to ask the parties who spoke to just please make sure that Ralph has your email and contact information. I'm not sure if you fully put it on the card, so when we prepare the EO report, we can make sure that we directly get you a copy of that information.
Yes, fine, I know.
Okay.
I can distribute that to everybody.
Okay.
I see a desire to comment.
Just with staff, maybe it was just me, but I understand conflicting numbers, staff, with what was given to us earlier and what staff has just said. Is that true? With some of the amounts that are in the groundwater? I understood from Ms. Silveira that their numbers were higher than what we're talking about here.
It's actually out of the room
Okay.
when she was speaking. So
Well, maybe we can respond to that when we're responding. I'd like to get that cleared up.
Yeah, perhaps a map included with the executive director's report about where the plume has been identified and what's left to be identified. Certainly. Any other?
Chair, may I ask one question? If the staff could update
Can you go up to
David
the-
Conley as the supervisor.
Could
Go up to the podium,
you go up to the
please?
microphone so we can have you on the record?
May I ask that the staff update the fact that Susan Adams is no longer the supervisor since January 1st in Marin County, and Damon Conley has, and I've sent 2 emails to Ralph on this subject to get all correspondence updated to go to Damon.
I've corrected that.
It has been
Appreciate
corrected.
that.
Could you state your name, sir, again?
Bill McNicholas.
Thank you.
Now we have, I have, as would be expected from a rookie, got things slightly out of order. Tradition is that we start with a story from our coastal sage.